really important moments in the history of zombies where if one small thing had never happened exactly the way that it did, we might not be here today talking about it. The change from Jimmy Zielinski to Jason Blundell as the creative lead, or taking the story seriously and developing our old stereotype-ridden crew into real-feeling people with emotions and purpose. And especially what we're here to talk about today, the delayed DLC that took zombies to the next level is the single most important moment in zombies history. It seems like it's not mentioned much these days, but have you ever thought about why World of War only has 3 DLC maps? You have Nocturne and Toten at launch, then Verrückt, Kino Numa, and Der Riese as DLCs. Well, that's because Treyarch was still working on another map at the time, but because Zombies was mostly still a side project in World of War and Der Riese had come out as late as January 6th, it really didn't leave much more space in the calendar to fit in a 4th DLC map. They certainly could have fit it in and it would have sold like crazy because Der Riese was a huge success for them. Like seriously, there's no official sales numbers for it, but man, it really does feel like everyone played Der Riese back when it cost $15. That's pretty wild. But the decision was eventually made to hold off on things and focus on their next game for 2010, which ended up being Black Ops 1. Yeah, so if you never knew, Kino der Toten was meant to be a World of War DLC map, but because a lot of work was already done on it, this opened up Treyarch more time to polish up the gameplay and add in more of what we've come to love from these maps. That way when Black Ops 1 released, there was 2 full Zombies maps, Dead Ops Arcade, and if you bought the hardened edition of the game, all 4 of the World of War maps remastered into Black Ops 1 on day 1. There's so much content there, and Kino der Toten specifically having that extra year of work really showed out on launch, and I've said this before in videos, but it just can't be understated just how much Zombies wasn't supposed to succeed. It was only approved to be included for World of War fairly late into development and could only be unlocked at first by completing the entire campaign. There was barely any budget, almost no official development time, with most things being reused assets from other areas of the game, and the bigwig executives at Activision were very laser focused on winning the multiplayer war at the time against games like Gears of War and Halo, so at pretty much any moment, if Zombies had failed or people simply lost interest and were not willing to spend money on the DLC maps, we might not be here. Our little side mode that we love could have just been axed, and honestly, it's something that Activision definitely looking back on would have done. With Der Riese being a huge success, it would have been really easy to release another map on short notice to capitalize on the hype and prove to Activision that they could sell this little mode to people. But Treyarch had the balls to delay this map for over a year to have it included for Black Ops 1, and it paid off big time. Because first of all, I know it's a meme at this point to make fun of the Kino der Toten is the greatest Zombies map ever made line from the Chaos X Silencer video, but a lot of people really still think this way. If you were to ask someone who doesn't play Call of Duty religiously like we do, they'll probably tell you that Kino is the greatest of all time and recognize pictures of it right away. And as much as I love other maps like Origins or Ancient Evil, the odds of people knowing those ones compared to Kino go down drastically. Kino transcended our little community, or hell, even Call of Duty, to become a general gaming icon outright. And when that is your launch map, along with all the other content I mentioned, that is the single best start to a year that you could possibly have. Black Ops 1 is the best-selling Call of Duty game ever. But what actually made Kino so good that made it iconic? Well, we're going to have to adjust our field of view on this one from a 2023 perspective to a 2010 lens of things. Back then, players latched on to just about everything that they possibly could to explain the world of zombies. It was such a new and novel concept for a bland shooter franchise to add in something like zombies. The reason Samantha Maxis exists is because people thought the zombies were groaning the word Sam, and Treyarch just went with it. Yes, that's actually the canonic reason her name is Sam. Tens of thousands of hours were spent just on Nocturne and Toten searching for any small hints or potential Easter eggs, so when Treyarch began weaving in a story through the next 3 maps, it blew people's minds, especially in Der Riese. That means when you loaded into Kino der Toten right after Black Ops 1 released and right on the wall in the spawn room is written "Beware of the Six," I'm pretty sure that someone screamed in joy. And in the least crazy way I can possibly say this, Kino feels like a World of War map with Black Ops 1 mechanics. There's a few staircases, some areas that are kind of pointless, and it's a relatively small play area with one huge open room to horde zombies around in. Even down to the perks, there was only 4 on launch day, with Mule Kick eventually being added into all the maps later in the year. But getting back to the map itself, Kino was just offering what Zombies had already done well, but elevated it to another level. Everyone loves one-shot wonder weapons in the ray gun? Fuck it, throw in a giant pressure cannon along with the ray gun that isn't going to kill you all the time of splash damage. And hey, while you're here, check out this giant theater area with a movie screen that flashes all kinds of crazy and creepy images. But you can't focus on that too long because there's these new Nova crawlers that climb down from the ceiling and when killed by bullets will explode with gas that bores your screen. Wait, why is there a bunch of them stuffed inside of these containers? Oh god, wait, some of them are open? Is that how the outbreak started? Hey dude, let's go into the pack-a-punch in this giant teleporter. Wait, where are we? What room is this? You're in a different room than I am? No way, that's insane. Literally at every single turn, there was something that Kino was throwing at the player, especially anyone who wanted to look slightly deeper than trying to strictly survive. The amount of videos on YouTube that were made in like 5 minutes talking about all of the crazy conspiracy theories and showing off basic things that have millions of views is genuinely insane. It's stuff that you couldn't even watch now because they're made in iMovie with PowerPoint text slides to explain things like every 20 seconds, but it didn't matter since everyone was so crazily invested in what was happening in this story and this world. The gameplay was also a lot cleaner than in World of War, where you used to have zombies glue themselves to you, glitches were rampant, like hitting yourself with a Wonder Waff would mess with your Juggernog, or just dying in one hit to the Hellhounds. That wasn't really the case anymore. Things for the most part worked as intended aside from the occasional failed thunder gun shot. Zombies bunched up in a way that made some of the small areas actually playable, and they also didn't stick to you anymore, which just made people like me very happy. Kino was just an upgrade in every single way from the previous maps, and I guarantee that the extra year to sit on it and make slow, gradual changes and additions really helped things out. Because here's an interesting question. If Treyarch didn't just have Kino sitting in their back pocket for so long, would Black Ops 1 have looked nearly the same? Sure, 5 is loved by a lot of people, but if Kino der Toten wasn't there, I think it would have been seen as a weak launch map on its own, and I doubt Treyarch would have had the time to create another entirely fresh map alongside 5 to fill Kino's current spot. Or what about the World of War remasters or Dead Ops? Without that extra development time, would the team have had the time to remaster those maps? And even though Dead Ops was only created by one person to my knowledge, would he have even had the chance to do that? I don't really know. So in a worst case scenario, Black Ops 1 would have launched with 5 and probably a smaller tacked on map that took less time to create. I'm not sure if it would have gone down the way that it did in our timeline, maybe leading us down a path that was shakier and one that the Activision bigwigs just weren't as confident to throw money and development power towards. The successes of Kino and 5 as a combination at launch really solidified zombies as a core part of the Treyarch experience that just couldn't be cancelled on a whim anymore. It was simply too popular to get rid of. Tens of millions of players were addicted to it, and Kino is the single most iconic zombies map ever created even 13 years after release. Without Kino having been delayed from World of War and the ripples that its easier development cycle allowed, it opened the door wide for the golden age of zombies to exist. Treyarch were now in a position to take chances and do things bigger and better than ever before. And it showed off right away. Call of the Dead with its celebrity cast, Shangri-La in its mixed reception was definitely a bold step that they probably wouldn't have taken before. Then we went to the fucking moon, which seemed unthinkable even a short time earlier. And those were just the immediate aftershocks of the massive earth-shaking moment in the history of the Call of Duty franchise, definitely pun intended. And stuff like this is why I love going back and talking about the history of Call of Duty Zombies, because we're at about 15 years of this and there's so much. But that's it for now. Check out the video coming up on screen right now. It's round 100 with 0 kills in Black Ops 3 Zombies. Thank you for watching. Love you. Bye-bye.